At 6, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex were involved in a 2-hour paparazzi car chase in New York, says their spokesperson. They said a pursuit last night after the couple left an awards ceremony had been near catastrophic. New York's mayor says 2 police officers could have been injured.
I don't think there's many of us who don't recall how his mom died. And it would be horrific to lose an innocent bystander during a chase like this.
New York police have called the incident challenging, but said there were no reported arrests or collisions. Also tonight, landlords are to be banned from evicting tenants for no reason as the private rental sector in England is overhauled. Catastrophic floods in northern Italy leave at least 8 people dead as scientists issue new warnings about global temperatures. Fresh concerns about the future of British car manufacturing post-Brexit as the government opens talks with the EU to try to resolve the issues. And the Titanic as you've never seen her before, thanks to the incredible 3D mapping of the wreck.
On BBC London, facing the highest rental costs in the country, will Londoners benefit from the government's planned rental reforms? We'll hear from tenants and landlords.
Good evening and welcome to the BBC News at 6. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex were involved in what their spokesperson is calling a near-catastrophic car chase last night after they left an awards ceremony in New York. The pursuit is said to have lasted more than 2 hours and resulted in multiple near collisions involving other drivers, pedestrians and 2 police officers. Meghan's mother was also in the car with the couple. Our North America correspondent Ned Torfik reports.
Tuesday night in Manhattan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are filmed leaving an awards ceremony in Midtown with Meghan Markle's mother, Doria Ragland, before the incident in question. Earlier, Meghan had been recognized for her global advocacy on behalf of women and girls and honored by the activist Gloria Steinem. It was the first time the couple appeared in public together since the Duchess's absence at the King's coronation. Awaiting them, a swarm of paparazzi and members of the public. The 3 of them were then escorted through the crowd into a black SUV, followed by police. And not long after, they say they were chased. In a statement on Wednesday, a spokesperson for Harry and Meghan said, "Last night, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex were involved in a near-catastrophic car chase at the hands of a ring of highly aggressive paparazzi. This relentless pursuit lasted over 2 hours, resulted in multiple near collisions involving other drivers on the road, pedestrians, and 2 NYPD officers. While being a public figure comes with a level of interest from the public, it should never come at the cost of anyone's safety." New York's Mayor Eric Adams offered this reaction.
2 of our officers could have been injured. New York City is different from a small town somewhere. You shouldn't be speeding anywhere, but this is a densely populated city. And I think all of us, I don't think there's many of us who don't recall how his mom died. And it would be horrific to lose an innocent bystander during a chase like this.
Harry has frequently voiced his fear that history could repeat itself, blaming the paparazzi for his mother, Princess Diana's death in 1997.
Do we have that pap on the scooter again?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, we do? Really? Same.
In the pair's Netflix documentary, they are seen discussing how to avoid photographers camped out along the road. Prince Harry's statement is the latest action he's taken to fight intrusion by the press. He's currently involved in multiple legal disputes with the British tabloids and cited harassment by the press as one of the reasons he moved to the United States in 2020.
Well, Sophie, we now have heard from the NYPD. They confirmed that their officers assisted the pair's private security. They described the incident as challenging, that transport as challenging, but said there were no reported collisions, injuries, or arrests. And New York's Mayor Eric Adams saying that even if it was just a 10-minute car chase, because he wasn't able to confirm the duration of it, he said even that is extremely dangerous in New York.
Neda, thank you. Well, our royal correspondent Nicholas Witchell is with me now. Most of the information, most of the detail at the moment coming from the couple's spokesperson, but put this in context for us.
Well, Sophie, clearly something happened. Something worrying and I'm sure alarming if you were at the centre of it. I think the question is, was it really on the scale and of the seriousness as depicted in this perhaps rather vivid and breathless statement from the Sussexes spokesman? A near catastrophic car chase, a relentless pursuit by a ring of paparazzi lasting for more than 2 hours. That doesn't appear to be being substantiated by what we are now starting to hear from the New York Police Department and from the Mayor of New York, some of which we've just heard there. They are talking in much more measured terms, though I stress, if you were at the centre of this, however long it lasted, it must have been alarming. Some points to keep in mind. Harry, as we know, has been deeply scarred by the death of his late mother, pursued by paparazzi, killed in a car crash. He has said time and again, I will protect my wife and my children. I must prevent history repeating itself. He has a very low threshold when it comes to misbehaviour by the media. One of the main reasons, of course, that he left the United Kingdom was to get away from the attention that he was receiving. Ironically, of course, he's stepped into an environment in California where they live, where the paparazzi are, if anything, much more aggressive than they are certainly here in the United Kingdom. He's also, of course, lost the official Scotland Yard protection. I think we must wait for more detail.
Nick Witchell, thank you. Landlords will be banned from evicting tenants for no reason as part of a long-promised overhaul of the private rental sector in England. More than 11 million people live in rented accommodation. That's around 1 in 5 households. People renting will also be given the legal right to request a pet in their home, which landlords must consider and cannot unreasonably refuse. The government said the once-in-a-generation reforms would benefit tenants, but Labour said it wasn't clear they would address the issues in what it called the Wild West rental market. Here's our political correspondent, Alex Forsyth.
Playing in the garden in the after-school sunshine, Amy and Sam's family are settling into their new rented home. They've been here a few months, but they hadn't wanted to move. They were happy renting their last property for more than 5 years. Then, unexpectedly, after a problem with a leaky roof, they were asked to move out.
Heartbroken. I didn't know what to say to my partner. This is somewhere where my daughter was born, where, we'd moved in with my other daughter, she was 4, and, we'd made a family home there. So it wasn't a case of, right, we'd had a 12-month tenancy and now that had come to an end. We were there for the long term.
It was the children mostly, and they did find it hard as well, the children. Littlest kept asking to go home. This one just didn't feel right. We had a lot of memories in that house and it was very upsetting just to be told, oh well, we want you out.
Nice to have you here.
Today, the Housing Secretary, visiting a rental property in London, set out measures to improve tenants' rights, from ensuring homes meet a decent standard to requesting pets. It will be easier, he said, for landlords to evict antisocial tenants or those who don't pay rent, but they will no longer be able to ask people to leave for no reason.
We're making sure that there are more people in the private rented sector who have the security of knowing that they cannot be evicted from their home on the basis of a rogue landlord trying to intimidate them.
With demand for rentals soaring, available homes falling and rents rising, campaigners have said today's measures are a welcome first step, but won't solve all the challenges.
The Conservatives first promised a better deal for renters in their 2019 manifesto. 4 years on, this is the government's plan. Labour says it broadly supports the measures, though it's questioned whether the government can fix what it's called the Wild West rental market. Meanwhile, some landlords have concerns.
Anthony has 3 rental properties in Rugby. He agrees tenants shouldn't be evicted without reason, but despite reassurances from the government, he's concerned about his rights when it comes to repossessing his properties if he needs to support his family.
If I don't have the protection to regain my property, then what do I do? I'm put into a position where I have to sell the houses. I don't want to do that, and I certainly don't want to do that to my tenants because they're good tenants. I'm worried now that the law is being framed in a way that doesn't recognise people like me, and that will have an effect on the number of properties available in the future.
Back in Greater Manchester, Sam and Amy are happy with their current landlord. And while they welcome more protection for tenants, they still feel far from the security of owning their own home.
We try and save, don't we? But We can't save a deposit for a house. It's a lot of money. Buying a house is just absolutely something that I don't think I'll ever be able to do.
That is a whole other challenge. Alex Forsyth, BBC News.
The Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, says local authorities in England will be allowed to build homes on Greenbelt land in some circumstances if his party wins the next general election. He says a Labour government would be determined to increase house building, which would help more people become homeowners and boost the economy. Our home editor, Mark Easton, has more details.
Housing in England is a political balancing act. Parties try to respond to both the national need for millions more affordable homes and local concerns about new development. And this afternoon, the Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, leaned decisively on the side of the developers.
We choose the builders, not the blockers. The future, not the past. Renewal, not decline. We choose growth.
Now, not building on England's Greenbelt is an article of faith for many Conservatives. Labour also happy to highlight the threat to green spaces in election literature. But now the party says the critical need for affordable homes means the Greenbelt should no longer be a no-go zone for development. Now, it was created to prevent urban sprawl, a barrier between settlements, and often the land itself is not particularly green or beautiful. A blogger today tweeted this picture of a petrol station in North London that is, yes, part of the Greenbelt, just the kind of place actually the Labour leader thinks could be developed.
He says that he wants to build on the Greenbelt, but his housing spokesperson, Lisa Nandy, says you shouldn't be allowed to build on the Greenbelt. I think his position has changed slightly.
The Conservatives have accepted that England needs 300,000 additional homes every year, but that figure hasn't been achieved by any political party, well, actually, since the 1970s. What's more, the government has abolished mandatory house building targets for councils, making it almost certain that a manifesto pledge to hit the target by 2025 will be missed by some margin. MPs of all parties have been known to oppose new housing developments in their constituencies because that's seen as a vote winner locally. But with homes becoming increasingly unaffordable, there is a growing part of the electorate who back mass house building. With an election looming, the housing hot potato is about to get even hotter.
Mark Easton there. The nurse accused of murdering 7 babies and attempting to murder 10 others has denied deliberately keeping confidential records at her house. Lucy Letby faced cross-examination for the first time today. She denies attacking the babies while working on the neonatal unit at the Countess of Chester Hospital between 2015 and 2016. The government has confirmed it's in active talks with the EU to change the Brexit deal for the car industry next year. It comes as the company which makes Vauxhall cars warned its future in the UK was under threat. Stellantis said it could no longer profitably meet Brexit trade rules on where parts are sourced. Other car makers have now echoed their concerns. But the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, insisted there are tangible benefits to Brexit. At the moment, these are the key manufacturing sites for the UK car and van industry. But as manufacturing pivots towards electric vehicles, there is only one factory in Sunderland that is producing batteries on a large scale at the moment. Our economics editor, Faisal Islam, reports.
The strong message from one of the world's biggest car makers yesterday to renegotiate the Brexit deal, as their electric car exports were not going to qualify for the rules underpinning it. Today, the response from politicians, a video conference with the company, promises of talks with the EU, but wider concerns about the overall approach as the rest of the world races to set up green industry factories.
It's actions, not words. I'm very happy to call that an industrial strategy. I'm very happy to call it a growth plan, but what it is doing is tackling the problems that British businesses face. All I would say is watch this space.
That sounded like a reference to an imminent decision by Jaguar Land Rover's parent company, which is weighing up offers from Britain and Spain for a giant battery factory. JLR, though, said it shared concerns with the owner of Vauxhall. Last night, the BBC revealed that Stellantis had warned the government in a submission to a Commons inquiry of this threat to our export business and that the UK must consider its trading arrangements with Europe. Nissan's submission to MPs on the same subject was more upbeat, suggesting there might be an opportunity for 2 battery gigafactories. However, it raised an entirely separate post-Brexit problem, a European plan to tax carbon-intensive imports more, including from the UK, saying addressing this is vital to secure the future of the UK automotive industry, with some manufacturers already reconsidering the investment attractiveness of the UK as a base for their European operations.
The UK has a very simple decision to make. Either it supports the future of vehicle manufacturing in the UK, in which case it steps up and offers competitive incentives and competitive energy costs, or it decides it's not in vehicle manufacturing long term and it loses those 800,000 jobs associated with the industry.
Under the terms of the post-Brexit trade deal, from January, 45% of the value of the parts of an electric car need to originate in the UK or the EU. But an electric car was built quite differently from a conventional car, so the bulk of the value is here in the battery drivetrain. This tends to come from the Far East and predominantly China right now, and if that's to continue, these cars wouldn't qualify for the deal. And those rules will tighten even more by 2027, meaning those exports of cars and vans to Europe would face taxes or tariffs of 10 to 22%. What were the fine, arcane details of Brexit negotiations from years ago are now becoming very real. And one of the biggest consequences of this Stellantis warning is that it shows that big businesses are no longer shy about talking about the impact of these extra trade barriers. And that means political consequences too. The government is slowly trying to unpick some of those barriers, the opposition hinting at a broader renegotiation with Europe.
Would you renegotiate?
Look, we're not going to re-enter the EU. We do need to improve that deal. We need
so you would renegotiate?
Well, it comes up for renewal, and of course we want a closer trading relationship. Yes, absolutely do.
In the fierce global battle to build green industry, France's President Macron was trying to tempt Tesla's boss Elon Musk earlier this week. Every advantage matters. Faisal Islam, BBC News.
The time is just after 6:15. Our top story this evening. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex say they were chased through New York by paparazzi for 2 hours after leaving an event last night.
And I'll be live here at the Etihad Stadium, where Manchester City are about to take on Real Madrid with a place in the Champions League final on the line.
And on BBC London, policing protests in the capital, the Met faces further questions over how it policed the King's coronation.
Now, there have been desperate scenes in northern Italy today after 14 rivers burst their banks, flooding 23 towns. At least 8 people have died. Others are missing after parts of the Emilia-Romagna region saw half a metre of rain in just 36 hours. That's half of what would fall in an average year. Thousands of people have had to be moved from their homes, and this weekend's Formula One race at Imola has been cancelled for safety reasons. Well, the extreme weather comes as scientists warn today that the world will almost certainly experience its hottest year on record within the next 5 years, and is likely to break a key temperature limit for the first time, passing the threshold of 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels by the end of 2027. Here's our climate editor, Justin Rolat.
Remember last summer? Temperatures in England breached 40 degrees Celsius for the first time, driving wildfires and helping make 2022 the hottest year ever recorded in the UK. And we can expect even hotter weather worldwide in the coming years, according to the World Meteorological Organization, the UN's weather and climate body. Rising temperatures thanks to global warming are one reason, but we are also seeing a change in a crucial weather system in the Pacific Ocean called El Niño. For the last few years, winds blowing along the equator have been stronger than normal, pushing warmer water towards the coast of Asia and helping deep, cold water well up on the coast of the Americas. This phase is known as La Niña and is associated with below average global temperatures. We're now moving into the El Niño phase, where winds are weaker, which means warm water spreads across the Pacific. Now that tends to increase global temperatures by about 0.2 degrees Celsius on average. Now, that does not sound much, but it makes it almost certain, a 98% chance, according to the UN's weather experts, that 1 year in the next 5 will be the hottest ever recorded. And it gives us a 2 in 3 chance, 66%, that global temperatures will exceed the 1.5 degree Celsius global warming threshold between now and 2027.
That's never happened before in terms of a yearly average global temperature. So we are heading into unprecedented territory, to temperatures we simply haven't experienced before, and the impacts will be equally unprecedented.
Oh, ragazzi, che paura, che paura.
I'm frightened, says this woman as she drives through floodwaters on an Italian motorway. Today's report comes as a number of people have been reported killed and several are missing after heavy rains caused extensive flooding in northern Italy. The Grand Prix circuit at Imola has flooded and this weekend's race has been cancelled. Our changing climate will make this kind of intense rainfall more common in future, say climate scientists. Justin Rolat, BBC News.
4 years ago, the then Prime Minister Boris Johnson promised to build 40 new hospitals in England. It was a high-profile election pledge, but the BBC has found that building work is yet to start on 33 of the 40 hospitals, with most of the hospital trusts still waiting to start, saying they don't have clarity over funding. It's been suggested ministers underestimated how long the projects would take. Here's our health correspondent, Catherine Burns.
Sandbags holding down a makeshift wooden roof. Windows taped in place so they don't fall out. This might look like a derelict building, but it's actually a working NHS hospital. St Helier Hospital was part of a key election pledge in 2019.
We're starting 40 new hospitals as a result of the decisions taken by this government.
In fact, it was one of a lucky few to get an instant green light, with the aim of being finished by 2025.
6 of the projects will start immediately. The rest of them will develop the plans, but what they're getting is the go-ahead.
But the building work hasn't started yet. Instead, staff have to deal with a long list of problems. Like this, it's supposed to be an intensive care unit, but there's an issue with ventilation, which means it can only be used as a storeroom. The hospital isn't watertight, so staff work around leaks. Some areas are so unsafe they had to be entirely shut down. So if you can't take us in this ward because it's been condemned?
Yeah, sadly that's right. The floors have crumbled, the foundations have sunk, the windows are falling out. I'm frustrated on behalf of our patients that they can't receive healthcare in the sort of facility that I would want my family to receive healthcare in.
A question too, what counts as a new hospital? The government says it's anything from a new building on a new site to a significant alteration. There are 40 hospitals in England that have been promised new buildings or major refurbishments by 2030. We've asked them all for a progress report. The first question was about money. 31 told us they don't yet have the funding in place to begin the main building work, although many may have had some cash to get their projects going. More than 3/4, 33 say they've not started the main construction. 5 are currently underway, leaving 2 that are finished and open to patients. Both were in development before the new hospital programme started. But what about that 2030 deadline?
So I think if the government doesn't act now, it'll really struggle to meet that target. So it is crucial that we get a decision within weeks, frankly, on this, if we're going to be able to get anywhere near meeting that commitment.
But today, a fresh promise from the government.
We remain fully committed to those 40 hospitals from our manifesto, and indeed, we have already provided £3.9 billion worth of initial capital.
In the meantime, St Helier and other hospitals are pouring record amounts of money into basic maintenance, waiting for ministers to update them on when they'll get the cash to start their building work. Catherine Burns, BBC News.
Brentford and England striker Ivan Toney has been banned from all football-related activity for 8 months after he admitted to breaching FA betting rules more than 230 times. Toney was also fined £50,000 and warned about his future conduct. His suspension means he won't return to the pitch until January 2024. Manchester City are hoping to keep their dream alive of winning the Champions League for the first time when they welcome Real Madrid to the Etihad Stadium tonight. It's the second leg of the semi-final, which finished 1-1 when they met in Madrid last week. The stakes are very high. Our sports editor Dan Roan is in Manchester for us now. Dan.
Yes, Sophie, this mouth-watering tie is tantalisingly poised, isn't it, in what feels like a defining fixture for Manchester City. That draw that they secured last week in Madrid, I do think it makes them slight favourites, given that they haven't lost here at home in European competition, would you believe, for 5 years now. But, you know, nothing can be taken for granted, can it? Not against the undisputed masters of this competition. Real Madrid, record 14 times they've won it. They're the reigning champions. They knocked City out at this stage of the competition last year as well. City have all the momentum. They're about to be crowned Premier League champions yet again. There is a real sense, I think, that this team is the best chance they have to date of finally securing the title that they covet above all others. Despite their wealth and their experience, it has proved beyond them until now. They'll be confident, but the pressure will be on because they know that to be truly defined a great side, clubs have to win this competition in Europe.
Dan Roan, thank you. Now this is the Titanic as she has never been seen before, thanks to new mapping technology. The team behind it have created a full-size scan of the ship, which sank in the North Atlantic in 1912 with the loss of more than 1,500 lives, to try to shed new light on exactly what happened. The wreck of the Titanic lies in two main parts. Here in this digital scan you can see the bow, and this image depicts the remains of the stern, which is smashed on the seabed, surrounded by debris. Our science editor, Rebecca Morell, has been given an exclusive look.
Nearly 4,000 metres down, in the murky depths of the Atlantic, the Titanic. But cameras can only ever show us tantalising snapshots, never the whole ship. Now a new scan has revealed the wreck as it's never been seen before, an exact full-sized replica. To appreciate its scale, we've superimposed it in the London Stadium, where the Olympics was held.
The Titanic was simply colossal, and this 3D scan reveals the wreck in its entirety. For the first time, we have an exact digital copy of the real thing. And what you see here is what's lying on the floor of the North Atlantic Ocean. And not only can we get an idea of the ship's enormous size, this scan also gives us a close-up view of its smallest details.
This is the boat deck. A gaping hole provides a glimpse inside where the grand staircase once stood. And here's what's left of the captain's bridge, covered in fragile stalactites of rust. Remarkable details are emerging too, like this serial number on a propeller.
The resolution is phenomenal. This will allow scientists, historians to re-understand how the Titanic came to be where it is, and it's also it's a snapshot in time.
The Titanic was scanned using submersibles. They took 700,000 images from every angle to build up an exact 3D reconstruction. The wreck is in two parts. The bow is still instantly recognisable more than 100 years after it sank. 800 metres away, the stern, though, is a chaotic mess of metal. It collapsed as it corkscrewed into the sea floor. The Titanic's been extensively explored, but there are still fundamental questions.
We really don't understand the character of the collision with the iceberg. We don't even know if she hit it along the starboard side, as shown in all the movies. She might have grounded on the iceberg. And this photogrammetry model is one of the first major steps to driving the Titanic story toward evidence-based research and not speculation.
The sea is eating away at the wreck, and time's running out to find out what happened on that night in 1912 when more than 1,000 lives were lost. But the scan now freezes the wreck in time. The hope is Titanic may yet give up its secrets. Rebecca Morell, BBC News.
Time now for a look at the weather. Darren Bett is here, and you've got more on those floods in Italy.
Yeah, that's right, Sophie. The rains that we've seen in Italy, yet another example of our changing climate. And there's been 6 months worth of rain in just a couple of weeks. The latest rain coming from this cloud wrapped around storm Minerva. That has now weakened. The rain has eased off, but there's more heavy rain to come potentially as we head into the weekend. Here at home, we've seen this cloud spilling down from the north, and that has brought a bit of rain into northern parts of Scotland. That could move a little bit further south overnight, but tending to peter out later on. Probably a fair bit of cloud overnight, 1 or 2 mist and fog patches, and temperatures probably sitting at around 9, maybe 10 degrees to begin with tomorrow morning. Across Northern Ireland, we should see some sunshine in the morning. Quite grey across Scotland, a bit of dampness in the morning, and then we've got this line of rain moving in from the Atlantic in the afternoon. Ahead of that for England and Wales, we'll see the sunshine coming through. That will pop up the cloud, which will in turn lead to these showers, maybe threatening some parts of the Midlands and eastern England. The odd one could be heavy, but could reach 20 degrees across Herefordshire, Worcestershire. Not that exciting for this time of the year, but it's been that sort of month. Typical temperatures are going to be 17 or 18 degrees during tomorrow afternoon. Though we've got that line of rain moving down from the northwest tomorrow, that will continue down into England and Wales on Friday, and this could give us not just more cloud, but it could pop off a few more sharp showers into England and Wales. To the north, though, we've got more sunshine this time in Scotland and Northern Ireland, although the cloud will build up a bit and spread out, but it should be dry in Scotland and Northern Ireland. 18 degrees will be very pleasant in the central belt, 16 or 17 towards the southeast where we've got those showers. The weekend looking quite promising. For many places it will be dry, there'll be some warm spells of sunshine, more cloud in the north, maybe a little rain into northern Scotland. Sophie.
Darren, thank you. And that's it from the BBC News at 6. It's time now to join our colleagues across the nations and regions for the news where you are. Goodbye.